Episode 92. You thought it was 93.
Hey, I got one episode ahead of myself. But yeah, it's just because I'm, stoked to be getting closer and closer to the magic 100.
Yeah, you skipped one ahead. As we've got a guest in the virtual studio today. Cameron Easton joins us all the way from PE. Cam, welcome, bud.
That's it. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for having me. Oh, it's a great opportunity to make it on with the boots. Waiting to say it.
That's the way.
100%. Yeah, shot, Cam. Thanks for joining us today. It's obviously we tried to line you up since sometime last year already, but it
was our fault that Cam wasn't on. He was going to be on, and then
it just kept rolling over. So I know
we had better guests, so we just asked Cam.
I'll take that. I'll take that. Flying Learjets, doing all sorts of things. Yeah.
How's this like?
No, not at all. Cam's one of these guys. So what we do, we like to meet with the guest sort of before we do the show, which we did the other night. And then Cam asked the question, or I said to Cam, you kind of stood out to me. You were out there, you're an aviator, but you kind of, you stood out. I don't know what it was. And he said, well, what was it? So I thought, maybe it was he was commenting and, similar things to what we were doing at the time.
Yeah.
So I kind of think, mindset wise, Cam was sort of in the same sort of arena as we were. So you kind of been on my radar for a while, Cam. But after the conversation the other night, I said, geez, Ryan, I'm so stoked. I finally found someone who talks slower than me.
When you said that, Ryan, I thought to myself, I was like, oh my goodness, have I really made it onto the radar for the wrong reason of all things? Am I now getting pulled onto a show because of something controversial I've said? And I just saw 4 or 5 years just drop off from my life. But yeah, it's a real privilege.
No, 100%. I think exactly as you were chatting the other night as well. I think Cam's just one of those guys that sticks out. He's one of Southern Africa's aviation's go-getters. He's punchy, he's vibey, he's got energy, and that fits in with the theme of
it kind of does
of the butts.
so exactly
of the butts.
Well, what we try to do as well is kind of relaunch this connecting with aviators because Ryan, we started it live. It was a while ago now. We're doing it at night. It was 7 p.m. in the evening. And we thought, let's give this whole live thing a try. And that was really where, it's adjusted the show going forward, hasn't it? Because, we do this show live. And we had so much satisfaction out of that show. And it was because we were connecting with the South African aviator, no matter where you were in the world, and not only South Africans, of course, but it was connecting with people. And you form these relationships that sort of continue forward. And we're looking forward to doing that with you as well, Cam. And we always like to say to the guests, obviously not the last time you're going to be on. So I don't know if you want to take this opportunity, give people a bit of a background on yourself. I know a lot of people watching sort of follow me on LinkedIn, and if they follow me, it's highly likely that they follow you as well. But just give us a bit of a rundown there.
I think Brian, if they follow you and follow me, there's very few things that they could possibly miss when it comes to anything relatively exciting happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, to give it a short little summary, I haven't been in the game for a long time. But the people and the things that I've seen and the guys that I've had the sort of opportunity to work with have shown me, I think I've been in a very lucky position to see almost 20 years, 30 years forward, which has been the most eye-opening experience for me. But yeah, I started flying straight after school. I finished in 2015. So started flying in 2016, flying club here in PE. Really was very, very lucky with the instructor that I got given and sort of met one of my first mentors. I think they're very important to me. I worked as a cadet for a little bit. at PTC in Port Elizabeth. Got my instructor rating in 2019, popped over to 43, where I quite literally learned more in 18 months than I did in 20 years. That was the most fun I have had, I think, ever. You know, that first flight when you hop on in and it's your first flight that you're actually going to earn some money from this. You know, you've been paying. My folks have been paying. And it was, I still remember, it was Echo Golf and a straight and level session. And you know, to log a 1.2 and know at the end of the month, you're actually getting paid to fly airplanes. That was like a lifetime goal that was achieved. And that's how it's been from there. Just, you know, 43, got really lucky, and got offered a position at PTC on the 320. And then that was just exponential from there in terms of learning and getting to meet people from all over the world, some seriously talented operators. And, you know, to jump from a Piper Arrow to a 320, even though the sim's not moving that fast, it was quite cool. And I really owe it to all the people that I've met along the way, friends, mentors, listening to guys like yourself, and having that reach that you guys have, you know, and just learning through what people have been saying. That has that kind of been the highlight of my career. All of these podcasts and friends, get on the WhatsApp groups. Like the most important chat to myself now is our aviation banter group, and all the guys there know. You know, it's just it's like my second family, really. It's like my second family. Yeah. Not many people can say they live their career, and that's what it's sort of been for me. So I have everything to thank for flying, and the gray hairs that I'm sure I'll get. You can see the receding hairline is coming fast.
Let me just zoom in on Ryan so we can see him.
Yeah, every student I've sent solo has moved about 1 millimeter further up the forehead.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, I've got no complaints.
Well, that makes us feel kind of good.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, it's
particularly me, because you mentioned me, not you there.
That just means I'm off the radar, which is cool. But I mean, yeah, before
Ryan and Ryan.
You know, you mentioned like the excitement from climbing out of a Piper Archer into an A320,
an Arrow. An
Arrow. Yeah, it was like watching Brian get into a CRJ for the first time. You should have seen how big his eyes were. It was impressive. But that's cool, Cam. I mean, you're obviously one of those passionate aviators, and you know, that's what's so lacking for us. It's being able to connect with guys like you, the real aviators, not like some other shows out there that, you know, they always interview the normal stalwarts. And
you've heard the story. I kind of like the story of the guy like Cam, because you follow these people, you see what they have to say all the time, and it's nice to actually go and talk to them.
Exactly.
You know, there's one post that you made. It was a while ago, close on a year ago.
I actually went to LinkedIn to try and find what is Brian talking about. I can only imagine it was something on LinkedIn, and I was like, no, I haven't done anything that I think would upset anyone.
You shared something. It said, and this was obviously during the height of the chaos of the pandemic, but you said, make sure you are the most marketable version of yourself when it opens up.
Right. So that is a famous Wayne Westerby quote, and that struck a chord with me. And it's that has been, honestly, I think every single move, or, you know, listening to guys and asking for advice and having these mentors has really that's kind of been my fuel during this whole thing. I mean, everyone knows how difficult it is at the moment. It's no news to anyone, but I really do believe, and I mean, I hope it's not going to bite me later. People say I was ignorant or anything, but I really do believe that when everything does kick off, I know everyone always says it, but it's going to be a wild ride. You know,
it is.
Like, and that's it. If you can be the most marketable person when it comes to it, well, then you've used the time wisely. It's the most precious resource you have.
100%. Well, again, you're just reiterating everything that Brian and I have been sort of talking about the last 2 years. Was you know, when we entered this whole lockdown phase, our sort of mantra was to sort of come out of this thing way ahead of the curve and on top of it as best we possibly could. And I mean, you're obviously on the same wavelength there. You know, you've got to chip away at everything and just gnaw at everything that's going to give you the best possible opportunity to come out on top at the end. And
look at us. I mean, we are at the heart of a non-profit podcast. So I mean, what can you ask? What can you ask for? But no, Cam, I mean, I think a lot of the time, I think people have a lot to offer. You know, they got a lot to offer, not only the industry, but got, you know, up and coming aviators or people listening. And maybe we take it for granted, or we downplay the importance of saying positive things like that. And
no, definitely, that's 100% truth. It is. It really is.
You were, you know, making these posts and, you know, commenting, and you were almost in a position that you were quite a good brand ambassador for PTC Aviation, because you were sharing a lot of their posts, and you know, obviously we're involved with Sim Aero, and a lot of what you were posting was pretty similar to what we were posting, because it bound to be. It's the same industry, and that's awesome. And then
I mean, to look past the competition of all these companies together, there really is only one goal, and that is to make the aviation industry grow. It's regardless of who's getting who's getting the business or who's picking what. We're all there for the same thing. If we can get the industry to boom again in South Africa, I think everyone will benefit. So,
absolutely.
And I think sometimes you need to sort of look at it at a broad picture. So we are all in the same boat. Whether you helping someone else one day to actually pushing for a job yourself the next day, it's all in line with the same thing.
100%. Now, Cam, you've been a busy guy for the last couple of years. I mean, we know from your LinkedIn profile as well that you've started a couple of businesses on the side, and
been involved in. Yeah.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Expand what you've been involved in.
It's just I mean, so it actually all started with a mate that I went to school with. He is like super advanced when it comes to all things tech wise, like real techie. You know, you get the Sparkies and the ammo. He's a techie. And it's
the opposite of Brian.
Well, before the show, I could see, Brian is spitting bullets.
Something like that,
but yeah, he just got going with what he could do. I mean, his talents, and it came about. He was just basically buying, selling hardware, and working on editing videos and creating, like, for instance, your guys' logo at the back there, very, very cool. I always wonder where the two engines went. Qantas 447 over there, but yeah, it just started off really small, and I mean, I don't have the ability to just quickly jump on Python and code something, but it was quite cool. We sort of got on, and I was the voice, and he was the brains and the brawn behind it all. And slowly, started moving and got involved with Kloppers and selling all their tech stuff, and it's just been very interesting. The company's called Tech Chain, and it's basically your A to Z. It caters for pretty much anyone. There's lots of support. There's an app in development now. All sorts of cool things. So hopefully the next time I come on, then we can chat a little bit more about that.
That's a cool name.
Tech Chain.
Yeah,
that's legit.
I would have thought of something about it. I know that because I'm the creative one in this whole story.
We've also got a brains and brawn situation going on over here.
Every Robin needs his Batman, man.
Yeah, that's it. No, that's that was a little side thing going on, and through COVID, it gave me a lot of things to look forward to work on. I hated every single second of COVID, but it's been a huge life lesson when it comes to making sure that you aren't the redundant crew, and that's what then came making yourself the most marketable person you can be.
Yep.
It's really all been about that, and kind of
that's
getting
cool
getting to learn as much as I can while I still can.
I see Ryan and I, we try Python a little bit as well. A couple, I think we managed to we hello worlded for a couple of 3 days or so, and then we didn't make it past that. But you know, it's cool to hear you talk like that, Cam, because I think so many people were out there in this pandemic. You made the comment how difficult it was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just difficult for you, it was difficult for so many people. And I think
so
sometimes
many people,
people think maybe it's like isolated to them and they see other people doing well. And I can actually comment on it a bit, Cam, because, you know, if I didn't know you, we'd never met, and watching you from the outside on socials, it like appeared like, hey, this guy's got it all together. He knows what it's doing. He's got this on the side. He's got that. He's training. He's doing so. You know, the perception that people that don't know you have is very different to your like inner circle, and I think that's quite important.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying the other night, there was a point during COVID where I was sitting in the exact same place I'm sitting at now, and it was literally a decision in my head whether I say enough's enough and try and get into university, or actually really throw everything at this and risk it. And if it blows up, then it does. And I'm very happy that I sided with the route that I went. But it was a split. I mean, I sat here and I wrote pros and cons lists for days, trying to figure out, you know, is putting all this behind me worth it? Is it going to be something that I'll actually enjoy? Is it just the thought now? And if it wasn't for my friends, family, you know, just connecting to people on LinkedIn, I think it would have been a very different situation. And I'm even though things are still tough, and it's still tough for a lot of people, you know, what's the point of making it negative? We all just kind of got to group together and go.
Yeah.
We only have X amount of time. So, yeah.
Make the most of it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cam, just to take it aviation for a little bit. Obviously, a lot of what I've seen of you is obviously aviation-wise. You're at PTC, you're doing a lot of MCC and things like that. How are you seeing the market on that side? We've definitely noticed, you know, things picking up this side. A lot of guys contact me to say, Brian, you know, what are you seeing? Where the jobs, and you know, is the industry picking up? Is it worth like keeping my license current type of deal? And I always say it absolutely is. The market is 100%. There. So, are you seeing the same?
I think the whole training side of things has a bit of a delay, because there were still so many candidates, or XYZ amount of candidates moving through even when COVID was happening. But I think the intakes during COVID dropped dramatically. And I mean, looking at it, you can look at it from two sides. The instructor side of me says that's a problem, but the human being side of me, not that they're different, but you know, looking at it with logic, it does make sense. Would you really go and invest the money and time into getting a license during COVID, you know, with everything that was going on? But I do think that it's changing, and changing quite quickly. I mean, everyone has seen America now struggling with pilots. They can't even make the hiring targets that they have for the year with the lack of instructors. I saw an article now, Southwest.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it keeps going in the direction that it's going, eventually it will pull everything up. But in terms of training, we've had a nice solid stream through. There are quiet times, but then again, there are also extremely busy times where you're doing 4 or 5 4-hour sessions a day. So I think I mean, that's just the one thing with aviation. Flexibility is the key to air power, and that's what we see. Either a huge quantity coming through, and then there's like a week gap, and then the next huge batch pulls through. So yeah. But I'm happy to hear that things are picking up that side. I mean, that is very positive.
No, they are. And you mentioned Southwest.
Yeah, actually.
I mean, how's this? I mean, the company expects to bring on more than 1,200 first officers, but they can't because they got no instructors. Well, they do obviously, but they don't have enough.
No.
And their Pilots Association had a bit of a chat there to say, you know, they don't have enough people to do the training that's required. So it's from, sim instruction all the way through to the various sort of courses that we need along the way, or endorsements that we need along the way. And I mean, Ron,
I'm going to tag it. I said this a couple of months ago on one of our shows. I said, guys, watch out, because the way things are recovering, we are going to end up with an experience gap. And
so are you saying you predicted this?
This is me, man. I told you. I put it out there.
Right.
The experience gap.
Southwest has 8,300 aviators.
Yeah.
8,000. I mean,
four instructors.
Yeah, so. But how are those numbers? when people think about aviation, you look at airlines here locally, and Airlink and Safair, and they're decent size, but they are so small compared to the rest of the world. 8,300 aviators.
No, I mean, to have a fleet of like 400, 500 aircraft, that's just insane numbers to look at. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
No, it's mad. It's no surprise that it's happening. What is surprising is it's happening faster than we all predicted. I mean, we were thinking 2023, 2024 was when we were going to see this.
Well, I predicted it.
That's the best.
I think
anyway,
Brian, I think IATA predicted 2024, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Brian and his haircut, they're always right. But no, look, the positive side is that it's actually happening now, and it's great. And I mean, we couldn't be more chuffed about that, because it's creating opportunities. And yeah. Cam, another question, man. You said the other night that you were up here in the big smoke writing some EASA exams.
Yes, yeah. Actually, came back last night. Well, very well. I mean, I passed what I wanted to pass. I've got 4 left with the commercial license conversion. It's slightly different for you guys at ATPs and all.
Heavy.
It's serious heavy, yeah. I mean, 4 bars is enough to mess up your posture, yeah. You see some folks walking around like this. No, but it's been quite an interesting experience. To say it's very different from what we do here is, I mean, it's very similar. You can only ask so many med questions, but that was just an opportunity that came up. I got a phone call from, again, another mentor and an ex-SAA guy, and I saw this advert, and it was Easy Pilots, a company in Romania. They were going to give the first sitting in South Africa for EASA exams, and I honestly initially thought it was a bit of a scam.
Yeah,
I was quite frightened, but got a phone call. Everything was done. It was all set up in Johannesburg, and I had the first sitting in January, and there were about 13 of us, and I just got back last night, and there were about 25 guys. So, and there's more. They're writing in Dubai, they're writing all over the world now. So,
and how does it work? Sorry, man, is it like an online platform that you guys are writing, or
who are you doing it through, Cam?
Yeah.
So it's through the Romanian CAA, and the company is called Easy Pilots. So they gave us access to much like a question bank, question bank for the South African exams. I'm not sure if they're still around. That's what I used. So there's the question bank. It's got a couple of 1,000 questions and material, that sort of thing.
Ryan's been trying to do his through the Russian CAA, but he's managed to sort these. Everyone told me he also was difficult, but Ryan's clapping it.
I'm just not getting it right.
No, that's cool. But sorry to jump in there, but that's a whole other element of the type of person that obviously we've seen from the outside. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a hell of a difficult thing to do, and you've obviously gone and made the sacrifices.
Yeah, whether one day it'll pay off or not, I'm not sure. But I think that's I managed to scrangle and steal, beg, borrow the money that was needed for it, and just made the investment. And hopefully one day it does pay off. I think
it will pay off.
I think. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it will. but yeah, again, just trying everything that pretty much can do, and yeah, all with pieces of advice from everyone else.
Yeah, of
I
course.
think it's a huge opportunity to actually be able to do something like that in South Africa. They hook it up via VPN, and the stuff goes through to Germany, and they watch you with cameras and all sorts.
Yeah.
And then it's I think quite a few places in Europe have the same sort of setup, like with Astro Control, also sort of monitored stuff. And yeah, that's so far for the exams. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. It's cool that opportunity is being made to guys down here in the south of Africa.
And it's happening here, hey, Ryan.
It's happening
It's
here.
happening here. So is it Kevin Brown that's doing it? But
yes,
yes.
hopefully we can get him on at some point and chat about. There is so much interest in this. So,
yeah, look.
Let's be. Can we be frank for a second? Not that we
never aren't,
never
frank.
But I mean, opportunities here are limited.
Yes,
they're heavily limited. I mean, you've seen the social posts this week of, the Fly Dubai recruitment, things, and there's a lot of pilots going. The guys at Airlink are flying about 1,000 hours a month, and not even flying 1,000 hours a year. He's going to have to start employing SACs and SAA guys shortly.
He's not going to dig that.
But the reality is that there's opportunities overseas.
Yes,
Emirates are going to start taking from the outside shortly.
Yeah,
and there's this. There is an overwhelming sort of cloud that it's become very obvious that there's not an awful lot going on here locally, and if you want to expand your career, you may need to consider doing what Cam has done, doing what a lot of other people are doing, and fucking off overseas.
the fact is, or the way I love the way this conversation is going is I had a call from one of our ex-colleagues the other day who's living in Cyprus at the moment, and he got together with another mate who's in the UK, and they hooked up together, and they ended up in Morlaix to fly the CRJ sim that we used to go and fly to get their EASA licenses and that sorted out. And he phoned me, he said to me, but I just got to let you know, because you must mention this on the podcast, that if there are guys out there in SA that are interested in doing this, get them to contact me, because I know how it can be done relatively easy and somewhat affordably. And it was just exciting. And now to tie it together with the fact that you can write the exams here is awesome, because it's creating opportunity. And so we'll leave some details in the show notes about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a huge step in the right direction. And when I saw that America opened up that summer vacation visa to New Zealand and Australia, I thought, okay, wow, maybe this is an opportunity for South Africans, perhaps, if they decided to look in Southern Africa. I mean, they're asking for like hundreds of pilots a month. Well, there are some pretty competent people in South Africa literally wishing for an opportunity like that. So that's another something that I hope happens, is that perhaps the visa application side of things becomes easier, because I sit here with a South African passport, and makes getting into Europe quite difficult. But
the dreaded green mamba.
The green mamba, Safa through and through.
We've all got the same problem, pal.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, imagine America said from like June, they said, you know what? If you have X, Y, and Z experience or whatever, they are now going to open up their borders to South Africans. It would be the mass exodus of 2022. It would be insane. There'd be a mini South Africa in America.
Yeah, there's a mate of mine in Oz that was part of it's like a little sort of VIP operation that it wasn't like a big like net jets or something, but it was like they flew citations, and I think they had about 12 crew.
Yeah.
And so 24 pilots together. And then America offered something like what Cam is saying to the Aussies. There's not one guy left of that operation. They're all gone. So it was it'll happen here. I mean, right.
No, it will.
Look locally here with it eventually gets to the point. We've had the COVID excuse for a long time. I've got a few stories here. I mean, if you looked at what's going on in the UK, EasyJet and BA been hit quite heavily with flight cancellations.
Yeah.
And obviously to do with first of all, they got rid of all their pilots.
Yeah, exactly.
And all their cabin crew. And then on top of that, there's like, I don't know, a 35th variant or something going around there. And, but, you know, people are calling in sick. But let me ask you now, are people sick? Like, I don't want to get shut down. Okay. Yeah. But ultimately, it's a pretty awesome excuse as aircrew. Now, I can't come to work. I got COVID.
Now, listen, let's put it out there. I think pilots in general don't like being exploited. No. And this is, I love the question because you nailed it on the same.
You nailed it. That was exactly that's exactly what I'm saying. You don't like being exploited.
Exactly.
And to what? How far can you pull that elastic until it snaps?
Yeah.
So locally here, take like an Airlink. They've operated all the way through. Their crews are working really hard. We know that.
Yeah.
So they're getting called on off days and things like this to go and work. That's how an airline works. That's how they make money. It's not unheard of anywhere in the world. But at some point, the local guys are going to say, but hang on, if I'm grafting this hard, you know,
for this much money, I might as well hook it overseas where the grass is hopefully greener.
Exactly.
And I was going to weigh in on the sorry, Cam. But when are the airlines going to realize, hey, well, shit, we better start looking after these guys and make it attractive for them to stay?
Increases again and things like that.
Yeah, even just the small perks, you know, there's airlines here who pay their pilots, but although they fly to certain destinations, they don't even give their crew rebates on their own airlines, which is one of those perks that makes it attractive, you know. That reinstate that, you know, small things, those tiny little things make all the difference in the world. So yeah. I love where this is going and what it's going to do for pilots in general.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a pilot, I think.
All right.
Yeah,
I hope so. I really hope so. Brian, to just add to what you were saying there about pilots being exploited, I don't think it's just a pilot thing. I think everyone is sitting in the same boat. I mean, pilots weren't the only guys and girls that got salaries cut in half and all sorts of stuff.
You're right, yeah.
I think it was everyone, and I think I mean it has to stop sometime. You know, when are we going to say, okay, enough COVID, let's start the progressive expansion of things? And I mean, I feel that that's yet to come, which makes things quite exciting. You know, is Link going to start heading further up Africa?
Yeah,
we see Safir now stretching east. You know, what's on the horizon for everyone?
Well, I mean, the national state of disaster has now ended. When I read that
what was that
sort of headline,
Tuesday night that came out.
Yeah, I mean, the national state of disaster is no longer. I thought that meant SA had closed, but then I saw that it had to do with the legalities around.
Brian, that's too soon, too soon.
Yeah, but anyway, look, I mean, yeah, I fully, yeah, I think we speak the same language on this thing, and it's the exploitation of, I suppose, all workers and anyone in the field. It just always felt like from the start, the travel industry, the airline industry was so heavily impacted. And I suppose if you take it from a guy like Roger Foster's perspective, he's got to make up still a hell of a lot of lost income.
Huge.
And I suppose, are we going to wait until a lot of that lost income is made up until we start seeing pilots, particularly locally in South Africa, benefiting from the fact that they're in very, very high demand?
Yeah, look, it's a numbers game, and I'm sure they know what they're doing. But I mean, I just, Airlink are expanding at quite a rapid rate of knots. I mean, we just read just this week that they're increasing their routes to Harare. They've got a Durban base now. That's
so what is that? Harare, Durban,
3 times a week.
On a
Harare to where Cam is in Kapeka, and I think that's how you say it, Cam. You could probably do it better than me.
No, it's Port Elizabeth.
Port Elizabeth.
PE. And so obviously it's gonna impact. And I mean, we hear that they are employing or interviewing. So
can we stick with Airlink for a second? Yeah,
I'm happy.
So fortunately, they are. We're talking about Airlink need to make up the lost revenue from COVID before pilots are
paid properly.
Yeah, paid properly, and not even the pay is one thing. I'm sure they paid pretty well, but it's obviously you want the stability with your off days and things like that. So they are taking another shot at reviewing the nearly 900 million rand that they owed from Spurries. And remember, that was Spurries used that money for capital to get them through the whole pandemic situation. But 900 million rand is a serious amount of money, and they are owed that money. And remember, backstory: 23 years they had a agreement with South African Airways. South African Airways sold tickets on behalf of Airlink, and the revenue collected from those tickets is owed to Airlink. Obviously, a small service fee involved, but the revenue is owed to Airlink, and Airlink have not seen 1 cent of that money, nor have some of the very, very sort of hard done by employees at other state-owned carriers that are now unemployed in South Africa because South African Airways never paid that money. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. It's out there. It's a good article. I'll leave it. It's at CH Aviation. I'll leave it in the show notes because it explains it quite nicely. It goes into the history, and the amount of money owing is significant. So
yeah, exactly.
Will be explored. 897.4 million actually is what it is. So
that's a couple of beers, man.
That's a couple of beers, and that's probably a roster stability as well for the pilots and cabin crew and everyone else.
Exactly.
So let's face it. I mean, Roger knows what he's doing. Just consider a SACS worker from time to time. How many SACS guys have gone there?
I don't know.
Flying a similar aircraft, there'll probably be a good, I don't know why is there some resistance there to take on a SACS guy?
I don't know. Who knows?
Or an SAA guy? I don't know.
Yeah.
They weren't the problem. It was the upper management there. But anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Hashtag just saying.
Hashtag, whatever. There was a cool article, and we'll bring Cam in on this one. It was in the Business Insider as well. Link in the show notes there about, you'll like this one. It's about if a company treats you badly. So they use Comair, which is a bit unfair as an example. So they said if an airline cancels your flight or whatever, in other words, in inverted commas, you get treated badly. Do you go back to that company? And what this article says is if it's an airline, you probably do. So you lose a ticket on Comair, will you go back to Comair? And this article says you kind of do. It doesn't quite work the same way with airlines as it does with other companies. If you don't get what you want from a particular firm, you tend to not go back there. But it's quite a good article, and they talk about if you're after a particular ticket and you want the best value for money for being able to choose your seat, get a meal, and have a checked-in bag, then Comair BA is your best bet. If you're looking for the they mentioned Semair as well in there as well. They offer a few things, but if you want to change your ticket on Semair, it's more expensive than everyone else. So you need to be sure of your flight date. But quite interesting. On the other end of the spectrum, there is Kalula, and obviously Link, and they offer a hell of a lot. But a nice article nonetheless. But do you go back to a company that treats you badly, or was it that the people of South Africa were looking at it instead of that way around? They were looking at it like, hang on, maybe there's some skullduggery going on. Yeah, I'll still support Comair. So is it an airline thing, or was it that people are kind of 2.5 years into a pandemic? Was it the airline, or is there something else? So I don't know. I think people are a bit wary. I don't think people looked at that too much like it was Comair.
I saw a very interesting post on Facebook. Okay, of all things, we go to Facebook, and it was the news article of Comair and the engine failure, and then the grounding of Comair. And just for interest sakes, I saw the post and I saw the amount of comments. There were like 300 comments. So I clicked on the comment section and I started reading through there, and I was was seriously shocked. And I really wish that the things we knew about flying, perhaps just the training process in general, was actually made or was exposed to the people of the public. Because, I mean, okay, I don't operate jets in this environment. I mean, I don't even operate a jet myself. But an engine failure is something that you have done how many times? Let's be honest. It is the most trained procedure because the safety factor is minimal. And
Ryan has to do it a few times during a recurrent cam, just to let you know.
But exactly. I kind of think like, okay, fair enough. How are the people of the public supposed to know? Like how are they supposed to know? No, the engine doesn't just fall off the wing. Sometimes you get questions and things like that. But imagine the whole training process. There was a documentary done, let's say, of Come's training facilities and the stuff that actually happens. Don't you think that would give a little bit more security to the paying passenger? If they actually saw how many times stuff like this was trained for. Come had 2 incidents. Aircraft was put safely on the ground. This 70-ton piece of equipment was put safely on the ground. It's not as if South Africa has a bad record when it comes to safety. I think it's one of the better countries in the world. But imagine that was sort of shown to everyone.
No, exactly. I think South Africans are victim of sensationalist media.
Would Comair have been grounded if that passenger was not posting that video to what looked like a TikTok video or something?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Something Leon would have posted. It was like a real. It was sensationalist.
Of course,
I suppose they had to react, but they also had to.
Yes.
Yeah.
The frightening thing is we've seen it again this week now, not with Comair, but with Safair. I mean, they've had 2 incidences, but nothing major. But you read the reports and it goes along the lines of, oh, we got airborne and there was something wrong. I noticed that we weren't climbing as high as we should.
Yeah, really? What? Yeah. With your barometric watch?
Exactly. Like how high you were going. And then all of a sudden we were told we were turning back and the captain didn't say anything until eventually they said there was something wrong with one of the components of the wing.
Yeah.
Like
if I owned an airline here, would you tell your pilots to tell the passengers that there's actually something wrong? Is there a legality thing that you have to tell something wrong? I flew from Gaborone to Johannesburg once at I think 9,000 feet or something because the cargo door wasn't closed properly. It wasn't pressurized.
Yeah.
We didn't say anything. No one knew anything. We landed and went home.
Yeah.
But if you say the aircraft is not pressurized, so we're staying at 9,000 feet, guarantee that the Facebook post would have said, we almost hit a mountain because the pilot couldn't climb above 9,000 feet.
Yeah. And the engine was almost falling off the wing.
Yeah. But you understand how it goes. But anyway, whatever.
We see the stuff everywhere. We see the stuff everywhere, especially when it's related to aviation,
Yeah.
And it's not to say that news is still news and people are only going to talk about what they know and how it made them feel, etc. But imagine they actually got they got hold of the skipper and they actually interviewed him and said, what happened? What actually happened? And there were some factual pieces of information there. And
but Cam,
an explanation to go with it.
They would have to decipher the information. The journalism is just horrendous.
No, the nice thing would be
horrendous
for them to start the post off with saying, "Hey, I'm alive today because I managed to land safely. The pilot brought me down safely, and this is what happened." Yeah. Started off with that. And
it must kind of be iterated that not one of those situations was remotely
laugh-threatening.
If
you can make your post.
It was like,
yes,
they were all well within the limits of those, that crew. So, yeah, look, I just, but the written journalism in aviation at the moment is appalling.
Yeah.
It's just appalling. You read these things that make no sense. They talk about absolute nonsense. And obviously people read it like, it's
I don't know. I feel bad for the paying passenger. I mean, imagine now reading this article, okay, and you've got your flight to go to Joburg or to visit the family or whatever, and you're walking up to this airplane and you kind of think like, okay, well, is the same thing going to happen to me?
Yeah.
Sure, it's easy to look at it from our perspective, and say, yeah, but really, how close was it? But imagine from the other side. Now, I was sitting, like I said, came back from Joburg the other day, and I heard this conversation of guys being delayed or something like that in Durban, a SAF flight that was delayed. And you can sense the worry when you start. Okay, well, now I'm going to get on an airplane and go to PE. What's the deal here? Yeah. And I kind of feel like the whole business model of flying is based on the safety.
Yeah.
The trust of stepping into this aluminium tube, flying at 11 kilometers above the earth, and not ever meeting the two people that actually have this controlled collision with Earth. And you just walk off and carry on like it was your normal day.
That's why us three, in this conversation, stick to simulators.
The worst is the red screen.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's more about the cool thing with simulators is there's no passengers.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, anyway, but no, you speak the truth on that one, Cam. But it's
I do feel bad. Yeah,
we're going to be dealing with that for a long time.
Yeah.
Can we talk about some of the local news? Sorry, Cam, to cut you short there. Do you want to jump in?
No, I was just saying. Sorry to interrupt my last point. But imagine there was like a portal where you could actually get hold of this company and you could have someone explain something to you in simple layman's terms. It doesn't have to be an individual message to anyone, but you actually have this event cleared up. I would love to know what Commer's statement is to something like this, because we only see it from the one side. What does Comer actually say? What do the passengers who weren't recording the whole thing actually say? Are there some grateful people? I don't know. I think, again, they are the men and women that actually keep these airlines going, and I think a little bit of explanation and perhaps calming of the nerves could sometimes be required. I don't know.
No, I agree.
That's my 2 cents.
You raise a good point there, Cam. Maybe something for the industry to think about. How do you deal, or how do airlines rather actually further improve their customer service relations? And we are sitting here like 3 pilots, like saying, "Oh, what are passengers like? The passengers are stupid." But maybe their nerves do need to be calmed down.
Would it help for the airlines to have a brand ambassador, someone that stands up and says, "Hey, I've got a bit of a following here.
Yeah,
this is what happened," and then I think a lot of people would listen to that person.
I do honestly think that something like that would benefit the industry. A small little explanation. No, guys, we actually managed to get the aircraft back safe and sound. We are truly sorry for it, but this wasn't an on-purpose event.
But it's
everything
also,
actually.
Sorry, Cam. It's a state of the times as well. I mean, a few years ago, you would almost not joke about the situation, but you'd say, "Well, this happened," and get on with it because it wasn't that big a deal. Whereas now everything is massive. You have to, you're messing with people's emotions.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that. Listen, I
was going to say,
this world is turning into a bunch of pansies, like heavy.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of listening to Jack Aranda this morning on the way to work, and they were interviewing Leon Schuster and the little guy that Alfred Ntambela.
This isn't a bald joke about Will Smith's wife, is it?
No, I would never go there, but I'm not that harsh.
Because Will knock you out.
Chris Rock is just insensitive. No. Anyway, cut a short story long. We'll get back to that later. But no.
Chris Rock.
All
right, we're going into the news, Cam. You're staying with us. All right. We announced that the state of disaster is cancelled. One of the things that's affecting things quite badly, Ryan, maybe you comment on this because I know you're involved in the industry here. The laws coming into South Africa for COVID, you need to be vaxxed to the max to not provide a, what do you call, a PCR test?
Yes.
But that's only up to age 5. So 5 to 12, you have to do a PCR test, which is not good from a tourism perspective if people traveling with young children. obviously they are affected.
No, look, I think the, the ideas and the information around that's changing every day. And personally, I think it's just become a money-making scheme, this whole thing. Vaxxed, waxed, ready to climax. All
Vaxxed, waxed.
That's what most of the tourists are. But no, I don't think it's really affected the tourism industry all that much. We're seeing a major influx.
So you're saying that it's not affecting things, that
No,
things
look,
are good?
I think people from overseas are like just so over it that they're like, you know what? If I must pay $50 for this PCR test, I'll do it. Just let me have my holiday. I've been dying to get out of my country, get to Africa, have a safari. So, you know, I'm touching wood here and tongue in cheek, but the charter industry at the moment is booming. And you can see it by the amount of inbound overseas travelers. So that's good.
Well, that's good news.
That's not deterring people at the moment.
I'm throwing a question at you then.
Cool.
Is the charter industry an area where out of work pilots can look at? Like everyone looks at the airlines. Is the charter industry somewhere where, you know, pilots can look at, or is it like...
Look, I think so. You know, unfortunately, you know, the charter industry is also becoming heavily regulated in as much as guys that in the old days you used to be able to have a King Air 200 rating that you last flew in 1965. And if you had 3 hours on the airplane, there was no issue. You could come in, pull in, and off you go.
Yeah.
Now you need to be checked out, sim checked.
Yeah, there's a lot going on
So
there.
the red tape around it is making it slightly more difficult.
Okay.
But that said, you know, if there's guys out there that are interested in looking at the charter corporate, I think there's opportunities out there. You know, pursue it.
Because the charter industry always, our generation, Cam, this was about 15 years before your generation.
I think 15 years before I was born. Yeah.
Hey, we're not that old.
the charter industry was where you really got your wings, and that's where you learned your trade. I'm posing the question: is that sort of maybe coming back?
That's where the fun was. But you know, most airline pilots are spoiled. You know, you used to getting to work, all your paperwork's done for you. You climbed into an air-conditioned airplane. You know, cold drinks come to you. This, that, next thing. Charter flying is hard work, man. You do everything from A to Z, flight plans, load the baggage. You graft. And I don't know if a lot of guys are like put off by that.
When General Drill's on your ass as well, you've got
to... don't forget the charter queen when she's writing you about being on time.
Yeah.
If you thought semi were difficult about on-time performance, try General Drill.
Who said anything about that?
It's in the industry.
All right. Okay, we're going international now. We were talking about Southwest earlier. SkyWest. Okay, so SkyWest now. They got 251 pilots have resigned from SkyWest. So they are in the airport terminals. In the terminals, they are advertising for $40,000 bonuses to recruit pilots. And you know, it was April 1st, and I saw Malusi Gagaba in his pilot uniform, and I wondered, is this an April Fool's joke, or is he applying there at SkyWest for a job?
I think he saw $40,000.
Yeah, but they've had 151 captains resign, 100 first officers, and they're dealing with a major shortage of flight instructors, and a lot of that comes from the fact that they've had this whole pandemic situation.
Yeah.
They're working their ass off, but they're still earning pandemic salaries. So it's going to change. It's going to change. There's no question. You can't have both worlds. You can either have a pandemic without the salaries, or you can have things are normal with the salaries, but you can't have both.
April the 1st was a funny one, because there was articles coming out of an A380 that had bust the sound barrier.
I saw that.
Had gone supersonic.
I saw that. Yeah,
so what's
during
more
testing?
Yeah. A 380 going through the sound barrier, or $40,000 sign-on bonuses.
Yeah,
I think a $40,000 sign-on bonus is probably more plausible.
$40,000 for a sign-on bonus is a lot of money. Yeah?
That's a yearly salary. I mean, if you look at those guys that are doing all the domestic stuff at like Eagle and stuff like that through American Airways. That's like that. That's yearly salary stuff. Yeah.
Hectic.
But it's a decent amount of dollars. But it's a really decent amount of ZAR. from that perspective.
Yeah.
Wow.
Air France.
Ooh.
So
You're talking about 011 from.
no, I'm not. I'm talking about in France now. If there is a train or a bus that can operate between two routes in less than 2.5 hours, they've canned all the flights.
Huh?
It's illegal for the airlines to do that route. So starting this month, France is ending the shortest domestic flights in the country. When a train or bus alternative of less than 2.5 hours exists, the new policy will lead to the end of flights between Paris, Orly, and Bordeaux, Nantes, Lyon, and Rennes. The only non-Orly flight affected is Lyon to Marseille, bringing the total affected routes to 5. So if there's a bus or a train that's 2.5 hours or less, you must go on bus or train. You can't go on an aircraft.
How big do the French think
No
France
ways.
is? Because France is not a big country by any means.
Well, it's big in Europe, but it's not it's not America.
Yeah.
And but geez, I mean, look at that. I mean, what was the train ride from Paris CDG to Brest?
Yeah, that was about 3.5 hours, man.
Well,
Eh?
if it was it, because if it was less, if it was 2.5 or less, that flight's not even going to happen.
Yeah, but still, I mean that's reaching. I mean, that's heavy.
Hey,
Your whole domestic network is going to be cut by like 80%.
yeah, that's
It's
what that's a law.
absolutely going to destroy it. I mean, surely this is an April 1st type thing now.
No,
You should have included it with other stuff.
Maybe I should have looked at when the
I mean-
article came out, but no, it's been spoken about for a while.
Mm.
The very short flights, they're trying to say you don't need to fly on an aircraft for this. You can go to the bus, you can go to the train station and do your travel from there. So that is something that they've been looking at for a long time. And
Is this like a CO2 emissions type thing, or is this
Yeah.
more of a let's support the rail and road?
no, it's a CO2 emissions type thing.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, I can see where things are going. I don't know if you ever saw that 380 that had the 4 hydrogen-powered engines on the vertical stabilizer.
Yeah.
Like now you've got this 8-engined airplane. Nice. Yeah, this is very efficient. But
Running on canola oil.
But the
Yeah.
important thing is how hard can you hit the industry? I mean, obviously the whole industry in Europe right now is affected heavily by the Ukraine crisis. You've had the COVID crisis. I mean, and then you throw in this story as well. So it's
Yeah.
quite heavy there.
Yeah, no, they need to
Yeah.
cool their.
Jets.
No, I was like,
Or cool their steam
Yeah, they need to cool their railway lines.
cool their
Cool their
steam
buses.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, at least for the guys that have been flying 737s, you can go shovel some coal in Europe now.
Yeah.
You know what? Got to put that out there.
You know what happened to us once? So we used to obviously travel to, I think it was Berlin actually. Yeah, it was Berlin.
Yeah.
When we used to go for sim training. So we used to land in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
So we landed there in Frankfurt, and then the boards were just lit up that everything is cancelled. There's no flights, there's nothing, but you must come collect your coupon for the train ticket.
Yeah.
So I was with I think Brian Davidson and Malcolm Finlayson, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And so Brian was the other Brian was the instructor, and then there was the two crew. So we cruise down to the train station, we jump on the train, and we get on this sort of, it starts moving straight away. There's no briefing by cabin crew and stuff, and it's pretty cool. I mean, we're sitting in these really nice seats, and then a waitress comes along and offers us a beer, and so we
You said no.
So I said no because I don't. It's just not. It's not in my makeup. So we're sitting there and we slotted a few beers, and it's kind of cool. I mean, it's really nice. And then some food comes along on this cart, and we're living it up proper. Eh?
It's actually better than that by the sounds of it.
So I say to the guys, yes, this is the business. I mean, next time I come, I'm going to ask if I can do this, because you look at the arrival time and everything, it's not that far off what you would have been. and we were going a hell of a lot closer to where did we used to do some training there? What was
Berlin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but further. What was the actual?
Copenhagen. Yeah.
Yeah, Copenhagen. It
Yeah.
went pretty close to Copenhagen as opposed to
The airport.
arriving at
Tempelhof.
Tempelhof. No, it wasn't.
No. What was that place?
Shit, man.
Just be getting old.
Yeah, no, I think it's the whiskey. But anyway, so we're sitting on this thing. Then this guy comes along, this like really like headmaster looking guy, says, "Hey, can I see your guys' tickets?" So we give the voucher from the Air France flight, and he says, "No, guys, this isn't your guys' cabin. You're supposed to be 4 cabins ahead." So he's like, "Oh shit!" So we jump 4 cabins ahead, and then it wasn't as much fun. No beer, no food. It was proper economy. So we had jumped into a first class cabin. It was
by mistake.
By mistake, yeah. But it was bloody nice. But I'm sorry, that travel does not compare to flying on an airline and arriving there 45 minutes later.
No.
You okay to sit next to someone all sort of crunched up for 45 minutes, but on a train ride 2.5 hours for the same amount distance, nah.
No.
Give me a plane any day.
Berlin Tegel was the name we're thinking
Tegel.
of. Yeah,
Tegel. That was
you're quite right, bro. Air travel is the business. And I said it the other day. I mean, I had the experience of driving just down to Margate. And shit, I wish we had flown because, the drive was long. It really, really was long.
Well, Chris says yeah as well, but this is a point worth mentioning. Yeah, have time to spare, go by air. Yeah, we know that sort of that also. Airlines, particularly lately, do tend to be delayed.
Yeah.
So, is it something you're willing to put up with? I suppose it is.
I mean, if we look percentages, are you willing to? Are you willing to risk it? I'd rather look at the airline being more on time. The next minute you get stuck in Cape Town traffic or something, and you 20 k's out of Cape Town stuck on the N2.
But that's where flights are winning on popularity.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I mean, my mom flies down to Cape Town quite regularly, and she's on the border of getting a Fly Safair tattoo. That's how much she supports that airline.
But Fly Safair have this kind of they kind of have this mantra of being on time. This one article that I'll put in the show notes with the Business Insider, they actually. Yeah, it speaks of Fly Safair being the most on time, but there's a lot of stuff about Airlink being the most on time as well. Who is the most on time?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats, but all I hear from everyone is Fly Safair.
Yeah,
it's just
I always get my mom a ticket on Fly Safair, and they're always on time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So something I've also realized is if you actually go and look at the tickets and you see their slot, for instance, it's a PE Cape Town. And their slot time is about an hour 25, hour and a half. But the flight's only an hour and 5 minutes long. So on-time performance is pretty much guaranteed then if you bought yourself an extra 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's why
go look. Next time, have a look and you'll see it's quite a large amount. Yeah.
It's that whole saying, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah. But they've been quite clever about how they go about the business. Exactly. What Cam says there. Yeah. They're quite clever about their arrival time. Of course. If I get my mom a ticket, she says, no, the flight only landing at 9:30. It's like, no, Ma, you'll be there at 8:45. But
yeah, or like 1 minute past 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. They're quite good about that, I must say.
It's clever. It really is. A bit like Ferrari at the moment.
Fly Safair is still my go-to airline. I'm sorry. It still is.
I have to agree.
They employ my old mates. I dig them. But time for my Brown Air advisory.
I'm ready.
Are you ready? So, Cam, if you don't know, Ryan and I have been sort of digitizing a lot of the processes that we do at Samero here. It's been quite a process and something quite cool to work on. It's been a nice project. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without the input of people online, obviously, and someone we've mentioned quite a lot is this Tiago Forte, Ryan, and he's big on productivity and things like getting your inbox down to 0. And I actually don't know my state of mind at the moment what it would have been without the inputs of this guy. because for the last sort of year, I've been following his stuff quite closely. So my advisory is, if you go to his website, he's got a book coming out. It's due in about 3 or so months. It's called Second Brain. It's building a second brain. And obviously that's your online brain, you know, your task managers, your calendars, your emails, your things like that work for us while we are sleeping.
Yeah.
That's that in sort of action. And if you sign on a site, he gives you like a 7-day, it's almost like a mini course. He sends you little things for 7 days. It's like a mini thing you have to go through about building your second brain. Emails, calendars, sorting yourself out, task managers, whatever it might be. You would find it interesting, right? You would find it interesting. And it's excellent. I swear by it. I absolutely swear by it. I cannot tell you how it's actually transformed my whole life. I do like a little thing on a Sunday. I have a Sunday ritual. On Sunday, my emails go from in the hundreds to 0. And it's all through this guy's sort of process. And I use things like task managers and that to get it done. But anyone out there that's maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of stuff coming through, then check out Tiago Forte. And it's really worth it. He's an expert in productivity. So, you know, this day and age, you don't need to go look in your area who's the best person at this. You look at who's the best person in the world at being productive, and it's this guy. So yeah, that's
quite an impressive title there.
Yeah. I absolutely love it because, I mean, you know, as pilots, we typically in tune to our brains. And I never forget, one of my old bosses used to say this quite regularly. He's like, you know, pilots, you oaks are such a bunch of idiots because your brains only start working when the master switch goes on. You know, and that was the truth. You know, as pilots, we are only turned on by the fact, hey, listen, you got to go fly. And then all of a sudden, everything gets activated and the endorphins flow. And all of a sudden, that's when you are in mode. Whereas in the last 2 years, we've had to change gears and get in mode through various other channels and doing other sorts of tasks. And I love that. Yeah, sorry, Cam, I don't want to steal from it, but I mean, you may be.
It falls in line
with probably weigh in on that
with what we're doing. Yeah, but it's an interesting subject nonetheless.
No, I think even going to what we've talked about earlier, being the most marketable version of yourself, you know, with the adequate use of time, that's all it comes down to. Time is the most precious resource you have. That's why billionaires haven't been able to create time machines and things like that. You can't. There's no money in the world that can buy it. So to use time appropriately is absolutely vital.
Yeah,
I told you this guy knows what he's talking about.
He does. No, he's quite a wise young lad. Especially like guys like us who've recently become parents, and we know we've recently taken on a bit more responsibility. We've realized
time becomes even more valuable.
Time is a currency of note, and you know,
huge.
It's less available than ZAR, so you start to prioritize that. More and anything that can make your life easier. You speak about the 80-20 principle. You follow that, so that's why it's awesome, man. 100%.
So check. I'll leave that in the show notes. It's well worth it. Check it out. You know, one or two things. I mean, time. You know, it's this major subject, but shortcuts on your keyboard. I mean, how much does that help? If you start nailing the shortcuts on your keyboard, hey, it can make your life. It can make your life so cool.
You start to become a bit of a ninja.
Yeah, you feel cool about it too.
Then you look like you've been programming in Python for a couple of years. more than a bit of a hello world. You know, let's start making the stuff ourselves. Yeah.
Well, those programs we soon get to move the robot from one block to the next.
Yeah.
Soon you're updating your FMGS on your own through your phone. You know, a bit of a Bluetooth there and.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. No, Cam's been at this a little bit longer than we have.
He knows what he's talking about. Have you, Cam, are you a Formula One fan?
Huge.
I love this because before you go any further, Cam, I was listening to Damien and Jake the other day.
Jake.
You know, the High Performance Podcast. I love these guys. I really admire them, and I'm going to give a shout out to them because as far as a podcast review, do yourself a favor, listen to the High Performance podcast with Damien and Jake. But they do this thing at the end of their show where they obviously ask their guests a few rapid fire questions.
That's it.
So I've only prepared 2, of which I know the one answer is pretty obvious. But Cameron, a couple of rapid fire questions for you before we duck. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Airbus or Boeing?
Airbus.
I knew that answer, man.
The next one is to be, which Formula One team do you support? Has to be
Ferrari.
There we go.
Good
Yeah.
answer.
Okay. So yeah, there's team Ferrari, and then Max Verstappen. You know.
Yeah.
Charles has been doing an amazing.
Well, that's pretty much down my line as well.
Team Ferrari.
I think a lot of
Max
people.
Verstappen.
That's it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at it that way.
Yeah, I was an ABLH
seriously
fan
impressed.
for a long time, and I still am. Obviously, anyone but Lewis Hamilton, and Max was the dude that could do it. But yeah, anyway, we want to keep this Ferrari thing going. We've had good engagement today. We've had our usual supporters tuning in there. Jason has jumped in again. Yeah,
Awesome to see Jason alive again, and hope it's going well at his side. And he's inching ever closer to getting back into his A380 seat.
Yeah, very soon. Janet here as well, and Dave LaRue. Oh, Ron, you clapped in on this one.
Yeah, listen, the David LaRue and his team had an event lined up this weekend, the Steady Climb for 9th of April at Rhino Park Airfield. But they have announced that, unfortunately, due to the weather forecast, apparently it's going to get very cold and wet in the south here this weekend. I can weigh in on it that event has been cancelled. So
yeah,
unfortunate, because I think there was a couple of general aviation guys that were getting excited into, getting to areas and hitting it to that event this weekend.
It was going to be a cool event, and I think but Dave and his team, they don't exactly come off the throttle. They're going to carry on. Don't worry. It's purely because of the weather.
The next event, I think, is already pegged for somewhere in August. I think Dave said 13th of August around there. So, it's going to happen. But obviously, Mother Nature, she claimed this one. But like you said, cuz we've got Dylan Skruer, Gavin Hill, Jono Collins.
All the guys. Jono says Cameron Easton Adidas.
Yeah.
Soon. What a push. Because he's flying again.
Can I just say something? I mean, because Jono and I go back a little while. My mom actually taught Jono at junior school.
Right.
He always seemed uneducated to me. I don't know why.
I actually saw him on the way to Joburg. He walked down the aisle on the Safé plane, and he went to go and sit at the back. And I thought, what? This is strange. And next minute, I start getting some airdropped images in row 33. Thankfully, my iPad was pointing towards me and not anyone else, and that there wasn't anyone behind me, because goodness gracious. But anyway, I just want to say again, congrats to Jono for changing the regulations of South Africa. That is a serious achievement. Like that
100%.
That's quite impressive. And I really hope that a lot of people can benefit from it.
Jono, if you're watching still now, please, you're going to have to come on the show again shortly. To actually get the local regulations changed, and you put in the work, you put in the graft, you put in the research, is a major feat. But I will go so far as to say, Ryan, when we met with Jono online, also for the first time, similar to this Cam episode, when we did that live, it was obvious that Jono was going to get this sorted out. It was never in doubt.
Yeah.
But I'm just so chuffed for the guy that he's done it, and he's changed. It's not changed his life. It's not. Jono will tell you it's not his life.
No,
it's
changed
all the
other
other
lives of I think there was a whole whack of other guys that have managed to have their medicals overturned in the recent weeks because of what he's managed to unveil. So that's awesome, man. It's fantastic. There's nothing better for the two of us.
Just imagine when
guys out there in the industry just go give everyone else the middle finger and turn it on its head. That is impressive.
What a legend! I tell you what, he's that is such a fantastic achievement, and I'm so chuffed for him. And I can't, I don't even think he realizes the effect it's going to have on other people going forward.
Heavy, man. It's
heavy. No, well done, Jono. Thanks.
That's the kind of stuff that we need to see happening. You know, changes for good. There are people with a lot of good ideas. You know, some seriously good ideas in training, in all sorts of stuff, and that's, you know, that's just another tick of the box there, and I think in the most amazing direction to open up the industry to more people. Again, if you go and have a look at his page and on Facebook and things like that, and you look at the comments, I know you're bringing up Facebook, but this is for the better reason, I promise. And you see how it's actually affected people. You know, like people actually coming on commenting some personal stuff, and it's huge. It's massive.
Yeah,
it's massive. And I promise you that there are a whole lot more people who could contribute. And if there are any people working on something, go for it.
Well, you shout that, you say that now. So this episode we've done today is like a connecting with people, connecting with aviators. If you do want to connect with us, then please do. And yeah, we'd like to have you on the show. We want to hear from the South African aviator, not the South African legend.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's why it's been so awesome today. You know, Cam, it's been great to meet with you and connect with you this week and hear your story and see where you are headed. And no doubt, as Brian always says, won't be the first time that you are on the show.
In fact, Cam, what's your availability in Johannesburg? Because I'm looking at making some roster changes on the show.
It turns out I got to change too many nappies, so Brian's looking for a replacement.
Give me a call. Give me a call. We'll see. I'll see if I can get my secretary to make some availability for me.
Yeah.
I'll see.
Today, I enjoyed today. It was really nice. And thanks to everyone for joining us up. Our real loyal supporters that we have along the way.
Thanks for having me. And if I can pass on a message, just also
Please.
keep on doing what you guys are doing, because it makes for some great entertainment. And I don't know, it just reminds us all, I think, that everyone is kind of going and doing this, and it's nice to be part of something. I don't think there's another career, maybe as possibly there could be, but you'll always find a pilot somewhere and immediately just kick it off with him. You know, it's a very niche type career, and I think we all do have something to learn from each other. No,
that's
shows like
cool
this
way.
make that possible. Yeah,
that's a cool thing to say, Cam. And I think from our side to you, you stood out along the way, and you've played your part, and we keen to carry on supporting you, as I know you keen to carry on supporting us. Ron, it's been very cool. We've chatted for longer than we normally chat.
We did, yeah.
But it was a nice show today, and we've had a busy week, and we're quite interested in telling people where we're going with our sort of program here, and we'll keep doing that as we go, and get in touch with us.
No, absolutely. Cam, thanks so much, pal. Loved having you on the show today.
Guys.
It was great to chat with you, and thanks so much. And Kaz, thanks again, man. Can't wait for the next one. Just every week gets better and better, man.
Today was cool, man. It's always cool. It's always so much fun on the show. Tomorrow we're going to come back. We're going to do our sort of advisory, so we get to think about it a bit, and when we're sober, and then give a review. But it was fun. I love it.
Awesome.
Cam, thanks for being with us, pal. And
thanks,
see you
guys.
soon.
Now have a great evening.
You too, man. Cheers, pal.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.